Hello, today I want to talk with you briefly about bureaucracies. Now, you remember Max Weber. Max Weber was back in chapter 1. You're like, yeah, I remember that name, Max Weber. He said that religion was the force behind social change and the Protestant ethic was behind the rise of capitalism. He also talked about the emergence of a new type of group, bureaucracy. And Max Weber said that there were 5 characteristics of every bureaucracy. The structure of a bureaucracy, where there are clear levels with assignments flowing downward and accountability flowing upward. Example of a bureaucracy. Currently, you're a student in school, college or university. You have the board of trustees, you have the president, you have the provost, the vice president level, you have the deans, you have the faculty, you have the support staff, I feel uncomfortable putting students on the bottom because students, without you, whom we serve, there wouldn't be anybody at the top. So even in that structure, I sometimes feel kind of weird. I think the book kind of breaks down bureaucracies in terms of the university. But I just always kind of feel a little uncomfortable putting students at the bottom when you all are the most important and the only reason we are here. Okay. So once again, levels with assignments flowing downward and accountability flowing upward. So that means that if I'm on the level of faculty and the college president gives an assignment, it may be on his level, but it goes down to where I may have to implement it. But can I say to the vice president, do this? No, if you do, then next week you may not see me appear in this video because I'm gone. Okay, so once again, levels. Assignments flow downward, accountability flows upward. Okay. Next, the second characteristic of a bureaucracy, a division of labor. Each worker performs a specific task. Okay. Mine is to teach. Support staff is to do the support work so that faculty and administration can do their job in a more effective way. You have the admissions who help enroll students. You have support staff to help students who are going through challenges while in school. You have the cleaning staff, which keeps the building clean and as germ-free as possible. I really think they are very underrated in every bureaucracy. Okay. Thirdly, written rules and written procedures. Even I'm sure when you signed up for this class, whether it was online or in person, you had to sign something or click I agree or give her an electronic signature. Now here's my question. Did you read everything that you was written before you signed it? I give an example. Suppose I were to tell you if you have a Blockbuster video card or one of the video rental places and you do not rent 10 videos, did not rent 10 videos in the month of October, you owe them $500, you may look at me like, wait, what? Even if just now you're watching this, you probably have to stop and rewind. Did I hear right? But the reality is, how many of us sign away our names on contracts that were written by lawyers for the companies to which we're signing this contract, but we're not really kind of reading it fully straight through? There's a saying, the bold print giveth and the fine print taketh away. Read everything. Do you think the billionaires, the Donald Trumps, the Bill Gates, do you think they signed anything without probably 5 different lawyers reading over the paperwork beforehand? Probably not, and we shouldn't as well. Okay, fourth characteristic of bureaucracies, written communication and records. Memos and emails constantly sent, which actually, 2 things. Keeps a paper trail. That can be for your own protection. But it's also used, according to Weber, to legitimize work. I once worked at some place where one of the managers liked to just constantly send emails, and it's kind of like, do they have anything else to do? Or perhaps they're trying to legitimize their work. But at the same time, the written communications and records can be beneficial to you. I had a student who was promised a raise, and he had a meeting with the supervisor and sent an email, thank you for the meeting. I look forward to getting the raise. 2 months later, he still didn't have the raise. And he went to the supervisor and said, I noticed my paycheck is still the same. The supervisor said, well, we're not going to give any raises. He said, oh, well, actually, in our meeting on X date, we discussed that. And then he forwarded him the email. And guess what? He got the raise and the back pay. So the written communication and records, keeping a paper trail can really protect you. If you have a conversation with someone or you're around someone and something just doesn't feel comfortable, document it some way, because it may be 5 or 10 years later that same uncomfortable feeling is revealed of why it was uncomfortable. So it's definitely a way to protect yourself through the written communications and records. The last characteristic of bureaucracies, the one that is the most challenging for me, is impersonality. It's the office that's important, not the person or individual who holds the office. Once again, it's the office that's important, not the individual who holds the office. Because a lot of times, if you want to go to point to people, you really can't point to that one. Let's talk about when they changed the menu in schools. They got rid of soda, they got rid of candy, and put more, I guess, healthy items in schools. Who did that? Now, if you think about it, you could say, well, the parents, but who? Give me a name, or who? Was it the school board? Who is the school board? Did, the state legislators say, no more potato chips, and boom, it was done? No, we really can't point to an actual who, because people can, quote unquote, hide behind the positions, and it's really difficult to identify an actual individual. That's that characteristic of impersonality. Now, think about, and I know this is one of your assignments, but think about some bureaucracies to which you participated. And bureaucracies are all around us. I just mentioned school, but there are a lot of bureaucracies, okay? Most of our life is tied into bureaucracies. Motor vehicles, bureaucracy, okay? That's just another example. Now, I like the section on when working for corporations, some of the things that people encounter, the whole thing with corporate culture. Somebody mentioned a video, I think, about a corporation which talks about, it's a documentary talking about corporations and kind of how they function. But red tape is one concept I'd like you to become familiar with. Red tape is rules which get in the way of getting things done. Have you ever wanted to do something, you went to talk to somebody, they're like, you have to go to this person and that person and this person, that person says, no, you need to go over here. All those different rules. It's kind of like, can somebody just help me solve this problem so I can erase it from my to-do list? An example of red tape was, do you remember Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa did a lot of charity work around the world. And there was a property that she identified in the Bronx, New York. She wanted to make it a shelter for people who were homeless. The city of New York had all of these different rules in place. It has to be this, it has to do this, and as a result, it would have cost more and more money, and more time went by, and afterwards, after 2 or 3 years of fighting, Mother Teresa, walked away from that project, or that vision of a potential charity, and the building sat there, rotted, and eventually they knocked it down. Those stumbling blocks got in the way of her providing some help or charity for people. Corporate culture, once again, the hidden values of how things are actually run. There's the way that's perceived that people get promoted through meritocracy. They do a great job, they'll get promoted. That's not always the case. It may be there's something called the good old boys network where, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Johnny CEO's son, even if he may not be qualified, gets a higher position than you who may have graduated with a MBA from Penn. That's kind of that corporate culture thing, the hidden values of how things are really, really run. And you get a sense of that when you look at page 123 in your book. And also some of the dysfunctions of bureaucracy on pages 120 through 121. Then there's something I compare corporations, 5 ways in which corporations in the United States and Japan differ. And I'll run through these hopefully in 2 minutes quickly. First, hiring and promoting teams. In Japan, teamwork is central. Outsiders are not even considered when there's an opening. They're only singled out later in years. In the U.S., hiring is based on what the firm thinks the individual can contribute. Employees try to outperform each other, and outsiders are considered for openings all the time. So in Japan, teamwork Everything is promotion from inside. United States, what can you do for me? What can the individual do for me? And outsiders are constantly being considered. The second characteristic difference, lifetime security. Japan, employees expect to work for the same firm for the rest of their lives. In the United States, we have what you see happening now, layoffs, outsourcing, job shopping, and job hopping, very common. Okay. Third distinction, almost total involvement. In Japan, workers and the company are committed to each other. And in the United States, work is a contract. Work and homes are separate lives. In Japan, work life and family life are actually intertwined. Okay, so there's total involvement from a family standpoint as well. Broad training. Fourth characteristic, the difference. Japan, employees learn multiple roles in a company. In the United States, workers perform one task. Now I ask you, what might be a benefit if a worker knows multiple roles? What could be a limitation if a worker only performs one task? Think about if you're a manager of a restaurant and you have the cook who only knows how to cook, and you have the dishwasher who doesn't know how to cook. If one is out, then what happens? Versus if people are trained on multiple tasks within that company, then could that be perhaps beneficial to you, as I said, remember, you all are bourgeoisie in the making. So you the CEO and the owner. Okay. Last characteristic or difference, decision making by consensus. Consensus is a decision that we all can live with. In Japan, all workers are a part of the decision making process. And in the United States, the person in charge makes the decisions and decides if he or she will consult others for input. Now, think about that difference. If we decide, last class we're going to all meet together and have a party, and we're going to be at a certain restaurant, and I say we're going to X restaurant. Suppose it's a food you don't like. Suppose you have eating limitations, or eating, you only eat certain kinds of food. Versus if I send out an email, what types of food do people like? And then everybody emails, and then I'm like, okay, we've all kind of had input. And so we find, let's say, perhaps a buffet where everybody can find something to eat. I think more people would enjoy the latter, where you felt like you had some decision or input in the decision of where we go to eat than somebody telling you you're going to eat here, take it or leave it. Okay, so there's just some distinctions. So even when you're running your own companies, things you can think about as far as how different countries run corporations differently. Alrighty, this is Dr. Conley saying I will see you next time. Take care.